All right. So there'll be a mix of how we will be running through the slides and using the book at the same time. Sergi, have you had the opportunity to look up in your inbox and see if there is a book that you could
Yes,
look at?
yes. I
Okay.
started going through it. Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, I hope that the recordings will help.
Yes, obviously you'll need the recordings for sure. I know that. So so let's start with this slide, and this is to give you an idea of what type of advanced operators we'll be looking at or discussing. This is a kind of a chart, or basically it has some headings in the red color. In
Quick
the red,
question, what page in the book?
what?
What
Sorry?
page in the book are we? What page in the book are we?
No, don't go by the book yet. See, when
Okay,
you
okay.
can always go back to the book later, not for you to, exactly follow it the way we are moving the pages, because, I'll be shuffling between pages, so you won't be able to really put your finger on it. It'll just won't be a best thing. So let's not worry about it. Let's look at the slide and just focus on the slide itself and nothing else for now. Okay, the red font says snippets, it says format here, says sources, and then under this you could see there are other different colors and fonts of how it is describing some of the examples of the advanced operators we'll be tackling. One of the segments we'll be looking at is the snippet part, where you see the three different elements or components of a snippet. It has the title at the top, it has the URLs. You have to visualize a little bit here. And then there is a description in gray color, like 2 or 3 lines under it. So those are the snippets that turn up. Now in those snippets, there is a query which requires a certain type of operator to use. For instance, if we have to look for something in the title, we use the word in title with the colon sign. Without putting the colon sign, the operator is dead, or it is considered as just words. So anytime you're going to use a specific word in title, for example, with the colon sign, you are creating an advanced operator that's going to search into the content page and look in the HTML tags, where the tag represents a title, and whatever information is encapsulated in the title part of HTML is what is being retrieved when we are using in title with the colon sign. Similarly, the description part, where you've got few lines in gray or black color in the snippet, that is being queried by the operator called in text. Okay. With the colon sign, and all in text. So we'll talk about what it means when you add the 3 characters or the word all in the first part or in the main operator text. So in title versus all in title will be discussed, in text versus all in text, and URLs, where the green colored, or they keep changing the format of it. So when you see a link at the top and it has wordings in it, those wordings are searched by using in URL with the colon sign. Similarly, format, the kind of format that the search engine is capable of retrieving for you in terms of files. So that could be multimedia files, it could be PDFs, or any format that is acceptable by Google search, for instance, will be identified, and we will see how we use file type. Similarly, there is source, to find where the information is basically coming from, what is the source of it. Domains restrictor, which says that certain domains have to be queried, or your search will be restricted to certain type of domain. So you're going to use the site with the colon sign. Date range, before and after, means that it is going to give you the opportunity to give it a date within a range which is before a certain day, and a date and a year, and similarly after. So it is a parameter that you set. Date range is retired right now. We do use cache, but for a specific reason, we'll work on that. Image size, we don't have to work with anymore because you can do the search using filters now. So we don't want to discuss that. Around operator, we've already dealt with in proximity search. And asterisks and different uses of asterisks we have done already. So this is the overview. And let's see where we should start from. Talk about the structure of the operator. That is very important. So I'm going to use the book here because I like the diagram and I feel that it could be more useful for me to give you a better understanding. So let's look at this right now and see how the structure is of these operators. So not that we have covered all the operators, but this is just to give you an idea what are the different elements or components of the advanced operator. So when we talk about advanced operator, the first part, which is the text, it gives an indication or it is a trigger for the search engine to identify with a certain area of the index pages or the content that is specifically identified through the HTML text in the background, as well as the remaining text, which is tagged with the specifications or notations that point to the different elements like the captions, main captions, subheadings, paragraphs, and so on. So all that is covered and is retrieved by using specific type of these operators. So let's suppose the in text, for instance, or the first wording that it has, it is considered to be or called a property name. Property is an object. Object is something which is more common for the programmers to understand, but for you to know that the easiest way to think of object is any declared property or anything that says that this is a single word or a single phrase or a single search term. All of those are objects or is assumed to be objects which will be parsed or represented or being identified for what it has inside of it or what needs to be acted upon. So object is something which is declared or is given a value in terms of the word or phrase or whatever it may be. So let's suppose this is a property name, then we have a colon right after without leaving a gap between the last alphabet of these wordings. Like supposing after E there is a colon sign, you shouldn't be leaving any gap as it shows here, or it seems that there is a gap, but this is only for your understand to sort of separate these elements. But in real sort of function of it, you want to make sure that there is no gap left between the last alphabet of this text and the colon sign. So colon will be attached to E. Similarly, this colon will be attached to T and so on. But what is important is the function or what the colon represent. What colon means is that it is a function that will execute something. It is a command. So if you put a colon sign, it means to act upon. It triggers an action on the part of the operator. So in title with the colon sign has a meaning with relationship to the word that you have put before the colon sign. So if you spell it incorrectly, or if you don't understand the meaning of why or where the in title would function or retrieve the part of information on the content page, you wouldn't be able to make a better choice between putting the right words or using in URL, in text, or in title, or whatever else you're using. So that is the relationship. Then on the right of it, after the function, you're going to declare the property, which means you're going to give it a value. Value in terms of how the search engine is going to interact with the words means that it is going to be a single search phrase, or it's going to be a single keyword, or it may be something for which you would be very specific depending on what it is supposed to declare. For example, in file type right here, you can only declare the file formats and not just the wordings or search phrase or keywords. So everything is relational. File type, colon sign, and PDF means that you're only searching or restricting your search to the PDF format. Search engine is very peculiar in ways in which it indexes certain type of file formats. For instance, sometimes people confuse or get confused between the meaning of the formats, where the format may have an extension or something that says that certain file belongs to a certain class, or the way in which it is saved onto the machine, or it is compressed, or it is retrieved by a specific software. For instance, if it is an image file, there is a certain type of compressions which make it um, a truly an image file, like GIF, for instance, JPEG, or whatever it may be. And then similarly, if it is a movie, or it could be MOV, or it could be a video clip, MPEG-4, and so on. So all those extensions are the ones that you can declare, or you could say those are the file types. However, the search engine is very particular about what type of files it would index, so that it can be matched with the text that you put in your search box. So for instance, if it is a PDF file or anything that has to do with Microsoft Office, including PowerPoint and Excel, it is capable of understanding the XLS format is being coming from the Excel sheet, similarly docx and so on. However, when it comes to images, it is very particular about it, and it wouldn't entertain certain type of image types to be um, to be indexed or to be available for you to retrieve. So if you're going to do file type colon MPEG, it's not going to do anything for you. If you're going to do file type colon JPG, it's not going to retrieve anything for you, and so on. So to know what type of file formats are indexed or are retrievable, you need to look into the list and figure it out. Some of the type of extensions which otherwise are not used in regular fashion or with common users, but are used for investigative reasons, has to do with satellite images like KMGP and certain other type of files that can easily be retrieved. If you have the knowledge or have the training to know that there are other formats which bring you tons of information, only if you know those formats. But let's not go there. Let's just stick to the common ones. We will more likely be dealing with the Microsoft Office formats here. Anyway, so this is just the introduction. So property name, you have to know what it means. You have to know what property operator or the function of the colon is. You'll be surprised that some of the ways in which we retrieve the kind of formats, I will stick talking about the file type, okay? As an example, certain file types which are otherwise not retrievable by using a declared operator of file type colon can easily be retrieved by not even using the file type and just using the colon sign as a function, and you would be able to bypass that barrier and basically find a workaround. So we will discuss that, how we do that. Let's move forward with now opening up. Well, we've got one more thing that we will discuss before we go under the hood. Okay, under the hood means that we would now look at the content page, because after all, your piece of information is tied to the pages or all those HTML pages that are indexed. Okay, so to know what operator is going to work on what section or what type of information can be retrieved is the main goal, to have an understanding of how the content pages are sort of sliced and organized in terms of how the search engine reads them, okay, and finds the matching information. So just as a general concept, let's look at how the queries are structured with advanced operators. Basically, this is an example showing that we have created one single search query and used multiple advanced operators. like we have used site:irs.gov. Then we have used file type with the colon and PDF. I guess the idea of giving you this example is that the way we are going to structure or design our queries going forward will use multiple advanced operators, and the concept of knowing or the knowledge of how the multiple operators work in a single search query is what is being explained right now. So let's suppose site:irs.gov, and this means that our search is restricted to this website and the domain is irs.gov. And then we have these words, which is a search phrase. It's for searching, I guess it's form 1040. They use it in US for tax reasons. So form 1040 is being searched. In a way, you could be searching the files or whatever you're searching for by considering this to be an independent search query. Okay, or you can imagine that this could be one independent search query, and still it is not sufficient because you want more out of it. So you're going to add another search query that says file type you want is PDF, and you want to download that. And in a way, this entire query can be executed independent of you using site:irs.gov. So the idea is that you understand that two sort of queries or two sets can be combined together, and it would deliver a function that would result in more precision search, where the file type is entertained alongside the site:operator. So nothing more to it. It's just very simple. And this is like before we start to work on the search queries, we are just prepping. We are just sort of doing the groundwork. One of the things that you will notice when you're using advanced operator is be very careful about leaving gaps. So let's assume that 1, 2, 3, 4 up till 6, there are these queries, which is more of examples of what you should or shouldn't be doing as rules when you build these. So if you're using in title, for example, colon sign, and you are looking for the term or the name John Smith within quotes, you're not going to leave a gap. This vertical bar in red color denotes that there is a gap or single digit gap, which is not correct, or this is a way of showing incorrect spaces that you might leave. And therefore, you would have to be mindful that doesn't happen. Similarly, in title, no gaps before the colon sign, and so on. So it is just showing you that do not leave any gaps like that. Another thing is that let's suppose that this is file type :PDF. So we are looking for or restricting our search to PDF files with the word John Smith in it. Now, if I don't leave a gap in between, let's say the last part or the F here of PDF and where the quotation mark encloses the search term, it would just not work. It would just fail. That's because unless you leave a gap, it wouldn't know that the term John Smith is separated. Otherwise, it would become part of PDF. In a way, it is incorrectly set, both for declaring the property value, which now becomes diluted and becomes blurry for the search figure out. So these are some of the basics. After we get through the basics, I'm going to go into a more detailed version of how we are going to interpret, or how the search engine is going to look at the web page and read it. Do you know, or how many of you already know, that the search engine is not looking at the web page or reading through what you see as in any of the web page? Let's assume that this is the page. This is the user's view. This is how we are looking at it. But the search engine is not reading all these wordings the way they are set here, or not even the layout, or not even the video files if they're there. So nothing that you see as a user is read by the search engine the way we like it to, or we assume that it would. Instead, what the search engine is reading are the HTML codes, which are responsible for bringing this visual to you as a user. So we need to understand a little bit about the coding, not that we are learning the code, but we are trying to identify the part or the area or the type of information which the search engine is going to read, interpret, and index. And therefore, having the knowledge that, what information is being read is important for professional researchers in order for them to identify or relate it with the type of operator that's going to work on them. So right now, let's try to make it simple and not to complicate things. Let me tell you first, and if you have questions, we'll answer it a little bit later. Right now, I want you to just go with the flow for a little bit. So assuming that, and just watch the arrow right now. To begin with, this is a snippet. Let's suppose 3 areas of a snippet or 3 elements. The title part, which is in purple color, as you could see. Then we've got a link in green, and then we've got these wordings and lines and longer text. That is the description part. Okay. Now, where is this information coming from? After all, that's all you get to see as a user. So for you to know if your query has executed successfully or whether or not you should click on it, it shows you highlighted portions or the kind of wordings which would match, or at least it would show it between the 3 elements. It would show it in at least one of them, all those words that you'd like to match. So where are these words coming from and where is it retrieved? Now, before I move forward a little bit, one additional thing I want you to also learn, and for those who are trying to go deeper into investigative research or looking for certain type of evidence or collecting information that needs to be used in the court of law, it is important to understand that certain pieces of information are not visible or visually not available for you as a user to look at, or they don't appear in the face of the web page, whereas that information still exists and would make its way into the codes or into the part where the HTML information is embedded. And words that are apparently not showing on the web page itself may appear inside of the codes. One of the examples is time and date stamps, like when certain pages are uploaded. Some people intentionally don't want the search engine to put those dates, especially on articles that needs to be recycled, or certain people who have intentionally hidden the time and date stamp, or there is a litigation going on, and intentionally those pages disappear or sort of are hiding certain elements, including the date and time. So there are 3 types of information that can be available in the backend or in the coding part. One is certain keywords, like the keywords that you see here. Never mind the tags. Don't get confused with all these different types of notations, and just focus on the arrow. So keywords, for instance, these are set of keywords, all keywords right here. Internet research methodology. In certain legal situations where there is an intellectual property infringement, or there is a situation where certain keywords are put in or stuffed into the code, so the search engine would look at it favorably, or to pick up certain words which has nothing to do with the website or the goods and services that are presented, yet those wordings are used here just for the search engine optimization reasons. And then the legal aspect is when IP is infringed, people do claim that their keywords are being mentioned without having the same products or representing the type of goods and services for which the website is meant to present. So that is one thing. And then there could be another information which talks about the What else could be there? There could be another set of information that remains hidden, like the author's name, or when the information from another website has a code that is captured from there and put inside of the current website that you're looking at in its own structure. In a way, it is infringing the software. Okay, so all those are matched, and those are not presented or available, or they are not revealed in the way the pages are set for you to look as a user. So that is apart from our main objective. Here, our main objective of this slide is to show you where the information is coming from. And then comes the question of where, of how these type of information are pulled. For instance, in the title part, there is an information that is being pulled from a tag. We call it a tag. Tag means it's a label. I don't want you to go into the deeper meaning of tags, but assume that tags are labels that identify that in this bucket or in this domain or in this container, there is a specific information, or the wordings that are used or encapsulated or captured inside of it has the wordings or text that are meant to be used by the search engine for a purpose of presenting it, number one, in certain areas, like as in title, it is pulled from a title tag, and the title tag is giving you the entire phrase or the entire structure that is shown over here. Same way, there is a description part which is being pulled from here. So the description itself is a tag where it says meta. It means it's a major tag, or it's the kind of a overview or the main label. And within, and when we go deeper and look through the HTML more within the lines that follow afterwards, would have more tags and more notations, but not the meta tags. Meta tags only reside or stick to the top portion, or where the heading part of this web page, for example, has the kind of information which represents or which gives an overview of what the site is about, or what the goods and services are about, what the main description of the site is, what are the keywords used, and what is the main URL. So here the main URL is airsassociation.org, and this is being pulled and read by the search engine prior to indexing it, and it is shown here when the results show up. So the search has looked at www.airsassociation.org when you're using the operator in URL. So in URL with the colon sign is going to find and match the words that are placed inside of the URL in the header portion. Okay, for now, just think of it as the URL part. And then the title part, as I showed you, is coming from here. The description part is coming from the description tag. Meta tags story finishes right here. We don't need to learn more than that. And this is where it is representing or giving you an idea of tags, or the names of those tags that we call meta tags, or the overall overview tags, or the main tags. As you can see right here. Second part is the use of the operator in text, for instance. Why do we use in text, and what is the main purpose of it? In text is a deeper search, which means it is a search that is going to look at the layers such as the middle part or the middle portion of a content page. Here is an example of a content page or a typical page with different type of information, or the content types are mentioned here in these boxes. At the top, you would notice that all website has a header. We call this portion a header. Normally, when we are moving through the pages within the same domain, you will notice that this header remains the same or not much changes on the top, whereas the middle portion or the portion that is under the header, we call it a belly of it, or you can call it the body of text. So this middle portion is what keeps changing, and the information in this page is the main real estate, which keeps shuffling as you move from one navigation to another. And then at the very bottom, you'll notice that this is a third segment of a content page, which is what we call a footer. The footer has a type of information which is peculiar, typical, or you can call it a convention. So let's assume that for now we have differentiated or divided it into three portions. The top portion has all the meta tags in the background that is read by the search engine first. And when you using, excuse me, in title, it is looking for information in the meta tags or in the header portion. When you're using in text, it is going to read all the information that is the main information or the deeper text or any content that includes multimedia file and components, which may include a list or archives or anything that has a sort of a further navigation that takes you to more information to another page. So it has a bulk of information. And notice in the body of text, there is main headings. Let's say that this is a main heading, and then this under it could be the subheading to the main heading, and then there could be subheading to a subheading, until there is a paragraph that you could see. So more and more content, but it is placed in how we like to organize it, or how the page is organized between certain type of information that pertains to main heading as being more important, and subheading, which the search engine can determine as related to the main heading, yet it is now starting to taper down and start to get further segmented until you reach the paragraph, and then the paragraph information is read and matched. So when we are using in text, we are basically trying to find everything that is in the body of text. If there is an in title that we are using, which is limited number of words, not longer sentences, perhaps a general overview or the main aspect of what the site is about, then we use the wordings that typically would represent the title of something. So don't use in title for longer sentences, incomplete sentences, or type of information which you wouldn't think that could be part of the title. So avoid using the in title when you're querying the type of information that do not belong in the header portion or in the meta tags. And then when you are doing in-depth search and trying to find and get into the deeper crevices of the longer text, then you're going to use in text. Similarly, in text, like I mentioned to you, would also have list of navigations like forum posts, blog post. It could even have PDF documents that are listed. You may want to query using in text to find that, even though you could also use other operators along with it, but the main operator or the kind of operator that will do the magic for you will be in text. It will also do deeper search into image files, video files, and so on. Footer typically contains information that has got a lot of links. It has a site map. It has, your digital footprints, like whatever is there, your contact information and so on. There is no specific type of operator that would only work on the footer, but because footer has a lot of links in it, or the kind of links that are you can say outgoing links to other sites, as well as the inside links. So it has a lot of links in it. So you use in URL when you're trying to find an information that belongs to a footer because of the links, because you're querying the links. So this is just to give you just an overview. Now let's go on the left hand side and look at what it says. I may have another one which is a better version. Let's see. So in this slide, you could see this header portion contains the meta tags or the meta keywords. It will be behind this blue line. And this tags, we call them tags without mentioning it more in detail. This is just to give you an idea of what are the names of the tag. And the tags are, as I said, are labels, and they are denoted by the less than sign and the greater than sign. So these, wherever you find this, you know that these are the labels or the names of what they represent, and then whatever follows it would be the information that the search engine would carry or be presented behind it. So behind the header part, you could see all these tags are giving the type of information that belongs to or are available in the header, and you use in title quite extensively when you are doing this type of search. Then in the body of text, we have got important tags that search engine indexes particularly. So not to say that the search engine would not look at some of the deeper text, or in the paragraph, you know, smaller search phrases or few sentences. But to give it a better meaning, you could think of these as being preferred tags or the preferred notations in the body of tag, which have a higher value or a higher weightage when it comes to giving preferences for the type of wordings that are used. For instance, in H1, it means H1 is a tag that represents the line or the main heading or the main caption. Anything that is a subheading to H1 is called H2. So the H2 tag would have the text that would give a secondary heading or a subheading to the main heading H1. And so it goes on H6. And so it has a significance. Image file can be queried because those are actually placed within a tag. It's called IMG. So IMG tag is important. Why we are learning this? Not because of programming. I keep saying this again and again. You will see the magic, or you would see the advantage of learning this as we go and learn how to make the better use of those operators. So this is the reason we are learning this. One more thing, while we are talking about IMG or image files, remember that search engine has two utilities or two ways of searching for the images or photos. As you know, one is that we would just create a Google search query, which is separate, or it has nothing to do with the other portion of it where you are specifically clicking on the button which takes you to image search, where you can upload image, match image, or find images. Now that function is separate in the sense of how it is programmed. So what I'm trying to say is that that part of image search is not exactly what the Google search ideally should be, or what we are supposed to be learning, because the image search is a separate search engine, or it is a kind of technology which is not exactly the same as the one that we are going to use to query the search through the Google search queries separate, not through the filtering or not through the matching of objects. When we are doing Google search, it is only going to recognize the textual part of what is being or the name given to the photos or the images. So for instance, if it is my photo on Google and I'm trying to create a search query trying to find an image of Naveed Manzoor, my name, and I search for it and somebody else's picture just pops up, only because the name is it could be another person with the same name. It's not going to be able to differentiate. Second thing is that somebody misspells the name or put the wrong name under the photo or the image, or the text itself is incorrect. Search is only going to be matching the words in the textual portion and not looking at the image and trying to get the OCR image for matching reasons, as it is done in a separate search, which is particularly done through the image search portion of the Google Chrome, for example. So that needs to be separated. Where we are here talking about the search queries, the image file is only as good as it has got the text that represents the name or gives the correct name to the picture. And then we've got another tag, it's P tag, which means it's a paragraph. So for the ranking reasons, or how the search engine uses its intelligence to make sense in one way of relating the headings to the paragraph, or some people intentionally create headings which has nothing to do with whatever is in the paragraph that follows it. Search engine would be able to make sense out of it. It uses its own semantics to do that. And so that is one aspect. Second aspect is in-text is going to look, after it has looked at that sort of search term in the H1 tag, for instance, or H2 tags, then second function would be to go deeper and look up the wordings in the paragraph portion. And it is going to go through all the paragraphs, and even to the deeper portion of it. It could be 10, 20 paragraphs, it doesn't matter. It's just going to scan through it and look for all those words which are popular or which are not stop words. And we've learned that, and we've done that when we were doing the how the indexing or how the search engine reads those pages. Another tag that is important for the search is the source, whether it's a type of file that has to do with audio file or a video file. It is also going to pay attention to how the fonts of certain type of content are set. If it is strong or emphasis fonts, it is considered or perceived by the search engine as being more important than others. Similarly, time and date stamp, so on and so forth. So these are not that you have to learn the tags, but you have to understand the concept behind using in text and in title, which will play a lot of role in you deciding which type of information would require in text operator to be used, or whether you should be using in title. And there is a utility of both in the sense of the objective of your search or the type of information you're looking for. Okay, so let's just give it a few minutes and ask any questions that you may have. I'm going to return back to this. Sergi, you there? Is your mic on? Let me see.
No, it's not. I'm following. I'm not sure if I fully understand it, but I follow the logic.
Okay. Anyone else? Lorraine? Any questions thus far?
Not right now. I did go over some of this last night, and so this is helping. It's more of the remembering this stuff. That's the hard part for me. So yeah, right now I'm okay.
Okay. Some of the things that we are discussing right now are conceptual, meaning that they don't have a lot of utility if you are planning to remember them. The idea is to know that the content page is divided into portions. And when we are talking about the snippets, the three elements or the three sets of information that are pulled, pulling the info, what does the pulling of information mean for the snippet? Doesn't it mean that it is collecting and getting that specific information for you to read first before you click on those snippets? And in the sense, it is also giving you information of what part of what type of content might be there if you click on by matching the words or whatever little information is given in that small portion is making enough sense for you to move forward with clicking on it. And for that reason, we will figure out and we'll see how we intend to use in title, for example, as a real search, and what are some of the type of information that are particularly or specific for the title portion that we should query. Now, I don't know if you have used or anyone have used advanced operators before, or have any idea of, you know, their utility or their importance. Has any one of you used advanced operators before? So that I have some idea if you know a little bit about it.
I've used only mostly like the file type, not too much else.
Okay.
Same here.
Same here, Ricardo. Ricardo, you do a lot of search, eh? I mean, how do you go and look for deep information, something that, you know, just going beyond the search words or keywords?
Uh, because we have specific entities that we search on, so it's much more easier to to identify if the information is related to a certain entity. So it's much more word combinations, keywords, and
Mhm.
but most of the advanced operators we don't use. But for we do use most of the time the file type for searching for PDFs, particularly because most of the documents for companies are in PDF format if it is online. So
Okay,
that's
so
why.
let me just start with the. Let's just take 5 minutes. Then I'll start with the file type. Give you more of a warm up, because since you already use file type, we start with the file type, then we'll do the in title and in text and so on. Okay, so let's start with the convention, and it's mentioned in the book. It's page 168, so we'll go through some examples here. And like this one over here is showing you a convention in which you can use the file type, which means that you can place the file type operator on the extreme right and put your search terms on the left. You would get 3000, let's say 3530 results. And if you sort of, wow, this is incorrect. Basically, what it's saying is that if you use file type on the left of it, where it is before these two search terms, it would still not make much of a difference. So you don't have to worry about at which placement of file type you have to put the operator, either on the right or left of it. It won't have any impact on the search results. But most importantly, we'll look at the example such as this one right here. And it's just going to give you an idea of what ways you can use the file type. For instance, if you are searching for XLS files right here, and these are your search terms, you can also use a minus sign with another file type for which you don't want any results returned. So if it is XLS you're looking for, and then you don't want PDF to show up at all, you're just going to put a minus sign. In a way, it's saying that you can use a minus sign with file type. That's not a problem. Here is another classic example where you are planning to use two file types to find two different formats of a file. How many of you have tried to use multiple file types to be found? Because, you know, there are occasions where you want multiple file types to be pulled and not just be confined to a single file type in one search. So you may have tried like putting multiple instances of file types with different files like doc and XLS as shown here. And this is incorrect, but this can be corrected though. And I'll show you how. Have you or any one of you have tried to find multiple file types in single search?
Yeah.
So what were your observations? Was it successful?
I normally look for PDFs for the stuff that I'm searching for. So it's usually successful, more or less, yeah.
All right, so let me give you a little bit about the PDF and XLS and docs and so on. There are these file types have different utility or a kind of information that are set or typically used to be indexed. For instance, a lot of data or data files or information about population, as we have done right here, you will find Excel sheets are more prevalent or they have more information. And, you know, in spite of you using the PDF as your restrictor, you would not get as much of a data that is accommodated in XLS files, and you don't want to, you know, leave that out. So the XLS is usually used to collect information that has a lot of data in Excel files formats. Doc files are usually not as secure, and you know, people who are writing essays and less serious stuff is usually indexed with the doc files, like certain type of forms that you can download and so on. Obviously PDF has a more sort of preference for, as in your case, for doing your search with file type, because PDF is more secure, more serious work, like research papers are set in the PDF versions. So that being said, there are a lot of searches that we do where we need to look for or scan through all sorts of files to find information about some individual or some company, which may be in different formats. In that case, we use multiple instances of file type. But in this case, what we are saying and showing is that if you want to do searches with multiple file types, it would not work if you don't put an or sign or right here, because all the time you have to keep in mind that once you use a file type, you are basically giving a definitive command, which means that this command should not be having a conflict with another instance of the same, so that it is not considered a fixed or a mandatory result coming from, let's say, uh, let me just take this out. Let's say in file type XLS, you know that you have given a definitive command and the search is only going to entertain or look for XLS files. But at the same time, if you put the second instance of it, you are saying that to bring this one, and without giving an option or giving an or, so it would not work with file type, because again you have used another version, another absolute command, and therefore it is not going to execute unless you put an or here. You don't give it a choice, it's just not going to work. So to make this appear or make this happen, you got to use an or. Let's try it without an or and see what happens. Nothing is coming up. Now, if I use the OR operator, it'll bring both file types for us. Okay. So it's bringing doc files as well as XLS files at the same time. And what happens if I put another OR and I do file type PDF? What's going to happen? Predominantly, all of your search results will deliver PDF versions. And in other words, all other versions will be overshadowed or somehow will become insignificant for the search, because PDF is given precedence over all other versions. So if you have to search for PDF files, do not use the OR with any other type of file format, because it's not going to deliver doc and XLS. In fact, you will just be seeing PDF. There might be some occasions where you might see like XLS somewhere, but it'll be deep down in the 10th or 20th page where you don't even go there. So because it is more dominant, PDF is more dominant, it's best to use it alone without adding it or adding any other file types to it. But let's suppose if I, instead of PDF, I use PowerPoint's PPT and see what happens. I'll get PowerPoint, XLS, and doc files. So all of those files that has any mention of these search terms will start to appear. It may be in the PPT or XLS or wherever it may be, as you have mentioned here, will start to appear. But the moment you're going to put PDF, it is going to then conceal, or I wouldn't use the word conceal, but rather not show a preference of those occurring in the top hierarchies, and you may not want to go deeper and keep flipping through the sub pages. So as a precaution, it's always best whenever PDF is used, use it separate, use it alone. And the second thing is that if you're going to use more than one type of file type, then always use an OR operator, otherwise it's not going to work. So if I, let's suppose, lose the OR operator, the vertical bar here, let's see what's going to happen. Nothing shows up. So that part is what is to be understood. And formats. Another way that you can write the search for PDF files. Now, if we were doing a PDF search, normally it is easier for us to just get all the PDFs, like in this case. But there is a very typical way of how it is returned, or the way you could see how the snippets show. There is an icon that says PDF. All of these has PDF icons, but the only problem or only the drawback is that it is taking you to the links that has downloadable PDF files. But on the other hand, supposing you want to search for pages that has mention of PDF files, like a list of PDF files, then what do? Then file type may not be the best. You could also be using or structure your query this way. You can just use a colon sign and use the word PDF, but colon is most important because this is what is going to tell the search to find anything that has mention of PDF, no matter where it may be. It may be in the title, it may be in the body of the text, or it could be in the footer. Wherever it may be on the content page, it will be discovered. So I wrote right after statistics, after the S, without leaving a single character gap, I just put a colon sign and put PDF in there. See what's going to happen. So it is not showing all the downloadable file, but anywhere where the PDF files exist, it is going to come up, wherever it may be. Some of them has these icons, but others not necessarily have it. Wherever you're going to click, you will find the PDFs. You see, there is a downloadable PDF right here, so you can download it. So anywhere you're going to click on, you will find that the mention of PDF on a content page is revealed. Okay. So I do that when I am unable to find, let's say, research papers or anything specific in PDF readily downloadable version, which is what is indexed and is related or connected to the file type (PDF) operation. That a gap, or where I need to desperately find something that would give me an access to any sort of PDFs or pointer to the PDFs, I would use the colon sign. This is unconventional way. It's not mentioned anywhere in Google search, but it is a workaround. Similarly, certain file formats like in images search, we are unable to find certain formats. Like image formats are not given any specific type of operator to search with, even for multimedia, any kind of multimedia. So what I do is that I use something like, let's suppose I need a what did I do? I think we have an example of white horse, and I need an image. Let's see, JPEG. Okay, and I need transparent. And I'm going to compare this with another search where I'm going to use a file type. So let's suppose I needed this, but I need the JPEG version. So the file type, if I use file type JPEG, let's see what it's going to do. It's not going to find anything for me. Likewise, if I want to use another type, let's say PNG, let's try PNG. Again, it's not going to return any results. MOV file, nothing. Okay. But supposing for JPEG, I used this query where I put a colon sign and put the JPEG. Let's see what's going to do. It did bring me the search results, brought me PNG and JPEG. They'll all be here. If I click on it, it'll find it. Or JPG, I think JPG is the file format. Found all the transparent white horse JPEG files. So this is a workaround that you can do when certain file types are not Now, what are those file formats that the search engine recognizes or indexes? Let's see. So here is a list of it. If you look at page 164 of the book, it is giving you a list of file types that you can search readily by using file type colon sign. And all of these, as you could see, are not mentioning anything about JPEG files, PNG, which are very common. So somehow the search engine is not indexing it with the file formats. So, you know, so PowerPoint, XLS, all these most important for doing research where it involves geographic locations, especially in investigations. Citizen journalism is one example where you're collecting corroborative evidences and so on. So you can collect images by using extensions like KML, KMZ, and so on. And there are a lot of other useful ones, like source code you can discover, you know, using .txt files. XML files, which gives you an interface or gives you a readily available codes. A lot of programmers are interested in that. Those could be found, but not the JPEG or multimedia files. So this is the kind of information which is valuable, I think, for all of you to get an understanding. There is an error here where file type should have been on the left side. So I'm going to have to correct that. I'm going to write it down. It's page 168. Now, next, I'm going to
Dr. Manzoor, are you able to hear me?
yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. You showed a list of file extensions, and I'm not familiar with every single one, obviously, and I need to study to learn those. My question relates to the PDF file. The PDF file, did that originate by Sun Computers? Is that how it came out? If you know, if not, it takes precedence over everything on that list that you showed, always?
Yes, always.
I see.
So,
Okay.
the idea is not to use PDF for doing multiple format searches in one search query.
Yes.
So if you
Yes.
for PDF, just use it separately. There's another operator, it's called EXT. It is used in Bing mostly, and it works in a similar way even with Google search, even though it is not recommended, but it does work. You can use EXT, but with one caveat, and that is that you have to use the dot before you put the format. So if you using EXT, you would use it like this. For instance, surfing, let's say is the word, then EXT colon dot PDF. Okay, that's just extra piece of information in your book. Now, if there's any question on file type, or if there is a need for you to give me an example of how to, or something that you would want file type to be used in, or some queries you did that weren't successful, you may want to ask this now. Sergi, do you use file type in your searches?
No, I've never used the file type.
So when you're doing a search, for instance, to find maybe some research papers or some search that you may want to do, what could that be typically in your line of business?
So what I'm trying to do typically is to get a sense of emergent consumer needs. So somebody in a blog mentioned that based on his or her opinion, there is a new consumer need coming up from COVID behavior, for example. So I'm trying to find anything related to changes in the consumer landscape. And then we will quantify it in the primary research.
Okay, so let's try to create a search. Let's suppose Sergi has given a situation that requires for him to find. So what would be the keywords in your opinion? Let's try your search.
A change in consumer needs. And we can throw COVID-19 in the mix.
So the way we would structure it, we don't want to restrain the search. So we are not going to use change in consumer trends. This is very important because you may not find the exact match, and your idea or objective of your search is to find something that leads to the main sort of information that you need. So change in consumer, I'm not just going to put consumer needs, and then I'm going to put COVID. Some people write it like that, some people write it like this, some people just say what else do they use for the word? They use
pandemic as a
pandemic.
alternative.
Okay, and then we want to find something in file type PDF, and then the word. Let's try the simpler one, and then if we don't find it, we're going to, and then one more thing I will do, I'm going to put in URL 2020, okay, or in URL 2021. I'm just jumping a little bit ahead just to make things more exciting. It does get a little bit boring when you go to the specifics and start just hitting on the same sort of operator. So let's try something that is slightly more creative. I've built a search query that says consumer needs, COVID-19, COVID, pandemic, all three words, and then file type PDF in URL 2022. Because here I'm using in URL with an idea that anything that belongs to that year or the date or the year itself would be part of the link or the URL. Normally that's how it is set. So it is just a sort of an idea. Everything is based on idea. We're not getting a perfect result. So we're going to start with an idea where we know that the year might help if it is present in the URL. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Nothing to be scared of. So let's hit it and see what happens. Okay. Perspective on retail and consumer goods. I got 2021 global marketing trends. It is going to talk about pandemic. So you're going to read through these. Okay. You're going to read the description and say, since the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are like entering into that zone. We are talking about marketing trend. Global marketing trends obviously involve consumers. It is consumer driven. So these are the results. You want to try any one of them you think could be closest to what you need?
Well, probably the McKinsey report, the first one.
And once I've opened that, the first few wordings that we wanted to put in, change in consumer, I think that was consumer needs. So I'm going to try to find that. Once I open it, and it's opening.
As it's opening, can I ask you a question? So if we're moving forward, so here's the benchmark. We captured everything that happened in 2020, 2021. So moving forward, how do we start from the current point? Let's say in 3 weeks, we want to understand if there is any new signals related to the consumer needs. How do we, instead of redoing all the previous search, can we move from this point on into the future, well, into the next period of time?
So next period times means that you're talking about projections or what?
No. Let's imagine that we are in September and we're doing the same search, and I'm trying to avoid the previous results.
I'll show you how we can do that. I'm going to take the same search query and I'm going to give it a date parameter. Okay. So my date parameter would say after.
Gotcha.
What date would you assume? Would you give me
today? So as you okay, let's take July 1st. So we'll capture only the last month.
Okay, so July 1st, which year? This year?
2021, yeah. So, and this is the format.
This is the format. This is the format you're going to use. I didn't put anything before. I'm just putting after. No need to put before because we are already in July. So what are we going to put? Today's date, we can even do that. But let's suppose after 2021, July 1st. So it's going to be the year dash the month and the day. Let's try that. It's taking a long time to open for some reason. Our previous one, it's open now.
Typically, McKinsey has large files, so it takes a lot to actually download them.
So let's try this search. Now let's see. It's 6th July 2021. And if you open this PDF, it would still be somewhat around that date or at least after that. meaning that it could be any date after July 7th, July 1st. Okay, that's all it means. So if I say, if any of these results, if I click on them, I would find the date. First one is obvious. It is already written here, 6th July 2021. Let's try the second one. So this is the query, Sergi, that we will do. Is this the only reason why you took the course? Are you got this? Now what?
Also, if you were to be confined to a certain date, let's say before and after, that would be after colon 221-0701, before colon 221-715, let's say dash 15.
Okay, so let me show you a slide that will give you a structure of how the dates are to be set. There is a definite structure of how you're going to put the dates together, because different people write it differently, and it is not typically followed as a standard. So I'm just going to look at this slide for you. Now, this is the convention in which you're going to write. See, year comes first, then there is a dash, then there is another dash. Dash can always be substituted by a dot or a backslash as far as date is concerned. Okay. So best is to use the dash right here. But it still works when you use a dot or you use a backslash. But when one thing is turning up right and correct, why play with it? So let's just suppose that this is what is being accepted or considered standard way of writing. Then this is what we'll do. The other thing that you can do with the date is that you can just put the year. You just cannot put the month and a day, or for obvious reason it doesn't tell you which year it is. But if you use the year alone, like if you use after 2019 and then put before 2021, then it will just give you the information that is coming from 2020 only. So that range is gets created for the year if you just use the year only. But anyway, this is the way we've written it. But let's get back to our search query this time and see what happened here. My God, did I lose that? Here. So it is after 2021, and then I'm going to write before. Today is August 1st, so I'm going to use 2021 August 1st. Before 2021 August 1st and after July. Still 2021, but if you click on it, there'll be dates in there that you can look for, and it will give you unmistakably, it will be within that date range. Okay.
There's no convention as to how you would use the before and after. So those could be switched, could be after and before, just to be sure.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. What it's reading is the range, which is a set. Basically, it's like when you're buying your shoes, there's a left shoe and a right shoe. The only thing about using this is that you cannot worry about like those two shoes that you're going to put it doesn't matter if it's on your left or it's on the right hand side. That's the only thing. So if I use before instead of after and then put after after the before, then it would still work. Right now, let's just look at this, and you see, if you were to build your searches, you have to use your logical sense. I mean, who would put before, after, and after before? I mean, for the range, like it is typically not done, but if you want to do it, you can try. It doesn't matter to me, but I would never do that. If I have to create a range, it will be after and before, right? That's the logic I will use. Anyway, so where did this open up? So we got McKinsey report, and now coming back to control F, the idea was, what was it that we were looking for originally? The word changes in consumer needs. There is 9 instances of this. This word has been used extensively, and more than likely you will find the information, but the mathematical part or the qualitative consumer needs in the quantitative sense, I don't see any numbers here, Sergi, except right here there is a graph. Okay, maybe this has the information that you're looking for. Okay. Should I just copy and send this? This, where is it? I'm just going to put it in the chat. Maybe you want to look at it later and try it on your own.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Where is it?
So if we don't use the file type, it will search across all the potential document types, right?
You mean, yeah. Of course, it'll just broaden the search for you. It'll open up so much more. Where is the chat? Hold on. The chat window has disappeared. Just give me a moment. Where is my chat window? Here, my God, it's hiding. Okay. Yeah, you can just copy and put it there. So if in the same type of search, if we were to remove the file type, we will get a lot more results. We've got 86,000, nailing consumer needs in second half, consumer loyalty and shoppers behavior. You see, these are all related, and I think this would work very nicely if you really don't have to worry about the file format. Just opens up more. Of course, it'll include PDF as well. Okay, so we're done with this. Let's move ahead a little bit on the in title and in text. So in title, let's look at in title and all in title. Let's see the difference where we are differentiating between in title and all in title. The idea is for you to learn what all means, and when we are going to learn the utilization of all, or by adding all, how it changes the or has an impact on the return results, it would apply in the same manner for all other operators that has both versions, like in text has all in text and in URL has all in URL. So all of these would have the same nature, or it would have the same application of all to their respective operators. Now, in title, when we're using in title colon, we use it more frequently than all in title for 2 reasons. One is that in title usually allows us to build additional instances of in title in the same search query, because sometimes we are looking for certain words in the title portion or in the title tags of the index pages, yet we are not sure if the entire sentence or the phrase that we are attaching to it would make a sense linguistically if there was a continuation of other words that don't make sense to make it or turn it into one single search phrase. So we have to segment that. Supposing if I remember like 3 words that are there in the title, and there are 2 other words that are there but not in the same sequence or may not be part of the first phrase, then I would have to use a second instance of a title to break it up so that it finds both elements or both search phrases in the title portion, using it in the same search query. But in all in title, when we do all in title, as you would see, we may not be able to put more than one instance of all in title. All in title is become an absolute term where you don't want to use an or operator, because all in title means that everything that is after colon sign that you have written as text has to be part of the return results. Okay, so now if we had to do in title and we are going to write these words, internet search engine index, what it means is that the search would like to find all of these words if possible. If not, then, so this is a default action of a search engine to first find all of the words, even if you are using or operator as in boolean, or you are using in title where it would segment or individualize words as single keywords, it would still have the choice to make a selection out of all these words to occur. But it is mandatory for the search to find the first word or makes the colon sign effective, or the entire operator work as an absolute command for the first word, which is internet, only because it is attached to the colon sign. In other words, internet is absolutely mandatory for the search to find. Even if it couldn't find the other three words, it would make sure that the word internet appears in your search results. Now think of it as a concept right now. In reality, it does happen, but right now we don't want to confuse you for the understanding what happens if you put everything within quotes or you separate words, but to give you an indication that anything that is right after the colon sign as the first word becomes absolute mandatory. However, if these two words, internet and search, are more common, more popular, and search thinks that these two words together will prevail or occur or is easy to discover, it will automatically attach internet with search. But whatever the outcome may be, the word internet will become absolutely necessary for it to bring back. Not search, not engine, not index. However, we'll see what turned up when we did this search. As we've put it in the search box, we got a result in the title portion. On the top, you could see it discovered or set only 3 words, and we are right now looking at the first few search results. We are not going through like the 10th result or the 50th result. This is to give you the idea, the concept of what turns up as a priority. So when we did in title, it found 3 words, internet search engine, as more popular term, and the kind of the words that it chose as taking precedence over others, where the word index is left alone and is not returned in the title part. Never mind when it is occurring in the description part, but here we are querying the title portion. So the title has 3 of them, internet search engine, as you can see. Now compare this with, or replace in title with all in title, and see what turns up in the first page or in the first return result. When we did in title here, it gave a signal to the search to find all of these words in the title part. So it found index as well, which it previously dropped in the title portion of your snippet. So you could see all in title meant that all 4 words have to be present there. So this is the difference between using in title and all in title. Okay. And you see, if we are using all in title, the other drawback is that you cannot use any operator along with it. You cannot use an or to add any other operator. You don't use booleans. You don't sort of use any other operator like in text or in URL. You won't be able to do it with all in title. But with in title, you're able to do it. So let's suppose we take example of in title and go a little bit more in depth about the concept of all versus in title. So if I just create this, recreate this, one thing in this query is that whenever you're using in title, understand that in title means that you are first of all not creating a very long search query, because the title normally don't have in the meta tags a very long title. Title has limited number of words. That's one thing. Besides that, in this particular query, you would see that we have written the entire search term in such a way that it can easily be split into two parts. Why it just needs to be split is because internet research specialists would not be logically or in the English language linguistically will be incorrect for the index lexical semantics, these three words to be attached or come after specialist to represent a single search phrase, because linguistically it may not be correct. So we have to be able to separate these two as the type of words we want, but we don't want the index lexical semantics to become part of internet research specialist, because supposing it doesn't find it in the English or in the sense or in the linguistic sense, then it will not be able to match it, and it'll just kill your search. So what you have to do is you have to create another instance of in title here, so that index lexical semantics become another part that can easily be found as three words together that makes sense. Okay, or even if this doesn't make sense linguistically, then get rid of the index, the word index, and put it again separately, like right here, so that if it's a title that says, for example, supposing this is actually the kind of wordings that are used in the content page. Now, if you're going to use it as an in title, that means that you have to remember all of these words in the same sequence, or sort of have a definitive words that are exact match. So you remember everything in between, or anything that is missing that you don't remember as in two, you would have to compensate for by dividing it into different segments, so that all of these words are discoverable. Like these three can be discovered right here, and researcher word is missing. So if you had put it like in a one long search phrase where you don't remember the word researcher or process for or process, then of course the search will not return any results for you. So for that reason, you would break it into different segments. Please have a look at this and see if you understand what I'm saying. Lauren, do you understand what I'm trying to explain to you when you're using multiple instances of in title and the reason for doing that?
I think so. I think what you're saying is, one, it has to be understood in as an English, well, for us English, the way it's set up and as a sentence or a phrase, it has to be understood. And that we break it up so that you're having smaller parts found that are understandable.
Right, and that
you're-
is there, and that can be discovered as the words that are part of the title, but not exactly in the same sequence, or they are not set as one long title. And you know, you don't quite remember those missing words. So you have to break them down so that at least whatever is discoverable for sure, something that you know of, can be found as different objects in the title portion. And it will definitely bring the entire phrase or entire heading for you. If you didn't remember the word researcher, or you didn't remember the word process, or the entire search phrase as the way it is laid out. But with this search, it will find everything that you missed out or anything that was missing, find the entire search phrase or the sentence.
I have a question. With the way you have it set up in the first part of 2, with the 2 separate in titles and the internet research specialist, and then the lexical semantics semantics, and then entitled. Sorry. Anyways, will they find that they're looking for just those words in the title, or in that order in the title?
No, the order has nothing to do with it. It's just
Okay.
that whatever is discovered there in title or in that portion which you know of can be matched, whereas anything that is missing would eventually appear in your search results. So you know
Okay.
what it used or what it was, because you know it's better than not being able to discover any of it or nothing of that content page.
Right. Okay.
Is this making sense to you, all of you? Or if, where is Ricardo? Hey, Ricardo, where are you? You disappeared, eh? No
Yes,
voice.
It's making sense.
Hmm.
yeah, it does make sense.
Hmm. So,
Particularly for searching for the titles in particular.
right. Another thing about in title, as I mentioned to you, it has to make sense for the title. Like it cannot be an incomplete sentence. Like you cannot put something which is, let's say if I pull something from here as an example, like in a kind of a sentence that is part of a lengthy paragraph, or it is not supposed to be looking like a title. Like title can be a book, could be the author, could be the download, could be the words which are usually mentioned in the title part, which represent or kind of give an idea of what that site is about. So you have to visualize and see when you're using certain type of words, would they prevail, would they occur in the title portion, or would that be part of the paragraph, or could be a sentence, or could be something that cannot be typically considered a title. So that part you have to be able to figure it out on your own, you know. And here is another thing, like the title is not very long, so it is said, and I guess it is rumored, that you don't use more than 70 characters for the title part. This is what it is saying. So if it is a longer sentence, typically it wouldn't be considered. the Google itself, when it is indexing pages or making your search words discoverable on the content page, it is also ensuring that it captures only that portion of the title which covers certain number of characters. Rest of it would be missing. So the way it's going to do that, it's going to read it from left to right as in English. And the moment it hits like 70 characters, whatever comes after is going to be totally missed out. So it's not going to be able to look for those words that come after the 70 characters.
Dr. Benzo, and that includes spaces.
Yeah, everything, including spaces, dots, notations, whatever they might be.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to look at my slides right now to see if there's anything that is of particular interest in the title part that we missed out or something. Trying to see if there is an example that I can use. Yeah. See this example right here uses in title and all in title. Another way in which you can use in title is with the minus sign. So if the in title, I mean something that you need to discover in the title portion that has the main caption like Donald Trump immigration bill, for instance, but your return your results are turning up, you know, information about the policy and anything that has the word policy in it, which is not what you need, and that is occurring in the title portion. You're being specific on the title. So you're going to use a minus sign to ensure that the part or the word policy doesn't show up. So in a way, you are refining your search by eliminating something that should not be in the title part, as shown right here. And then on the other hand, in example 4, this one, you see that we have added 2 instances of in title. At the same time, there is one more way in which you can use in title, and that is to use 2 instances where the or can be can also be applied. Let's suppose I've used the or here, right here. If I use in title Donald Trump immigration bill, and I feel that in the title part there could be another wording that would still work for you, or at least one of them can be found, then you're going to put the or operator and put in title instance again. So basically you can use a minus sign and you can use or to find option either of 2 or at least one of them. So this is all there is from the examples point of view, or from how we are going to structure in title operator. But we are still going to do a lot of examples which uses in title with other operators, and that's going to come when we start with complex search queries, and that's not going to be too long. So the classes we have on Thursday and Friday this week are very important. If you all can make it, it'll be nice, because we'll be doing some complex search queries. And after we get finished with the use of advanced operators, that would be finished tomorrow, then we can start with the complex search queries, and it'll be done in a similar way as we have done as an example for Searchy. So it would be not only interesting, but we'll cover a lot of angles and aspects of how the complex searches can be created in certain situations, and typical kind of situations we will discuss, especially that has to do with your type of profession, and you know, something that is really useful in your everyday searches that you do. So having said that, this week would be really important if you can all make it. And for now, I think we'll just call it a day and ask You can ask any question if you want at this point. I would also like to know from Akintala if he's hiding somewhere. Where is Mr. Akintala? Where
I'm
are you,
here.
sir? And
I'm here.
you're there, eh? So what's
Yeah.
happening? Are you doing all right?
Well, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm trying to, digest it. You make it so simple, and I don't want to interrupt that. And
No wonder
I'm
you're
serious.
so
I mean,
quiet, eh? No.
yes, all the questions you're asking, I was on the top of them, but I'm okay. I'm doing well. The in title and the title thing I find it very, very interesting. And I've never heard that before used to search before, and that's why I'm paying attention to it.
So what will happen, Kentala, is that as we progress, as we move forward, there'll be a lot of stuff that you will feel that you are not getting it right, or for some reason you're falling a little bit short on understanding it. But when you go to the next class, there would be things that you would understand that you can now relate to with what you sort of, there'll be connections. And then on the weekend, if you don't get busy and have fun, going around partying, you will be able to catch up.
Yep.
Otherwise, there
Yep.
is no
Okay.
way that, because this is not going to be something that's going to chase after you. You have to chase after this.
Of course, like any other thing in life, I mean, you don't just wait there. No, what I'm saying here, this
No,
entitled
I
and title,
understand what you're
the
saying. Don't
topics
get me
are
wrong.
okay.
Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I understand totally. And the thing is that the book has a lot of stuff in it. Why don't you do this? Like some of the stuff that you don't understand, highlight it. Let's keep like 10 minutes for just that. And don't hold back and be shy about asking anything. It's not like everybody is a genius in this sort of work. It's the kind of skill set that is upcoming. A lot of people have, same issues. It's not just you. It's just that when you're too quiet, it's a deathly silence. And I don't know what happened. I just want you to, be there and ask something. If you don't understand, just tell me.
But I have to ask a question that makes sense. And what if
You can ask questions that doesn't make sense. You will be surprised the sense it will create after, because I look at it from a different angle. Who knows, there are others who are having a same issue. So, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
How's everything
I
for you,
am.
Sergi, so far? Do you get it? Everything's
more or less. I was trying the following syntax. Let me just paste it into the chat, and I wanted to confirm that it's grammatically correct.
So all is good, and I'm sure everybody is anxious to go home. Someone would be waiting for you for dinner. Some would be sitting alone having dinner, but dinner is the main thing for those who are in the evening. And in the morning, it's breakfast time for you, Ricardo. You want to go and have breakfast and go back to sleep now. Okay, Sergi. Thank you. Good to see you. I'll see you next time. Hopefully, are you going to make it in the next class, or it was so boring that you decide to just?
No. It was very useful. Thank you.
Okay. And Kian, everything's good on your side.
Everything is good, and I was courageous enough to ask that question that was not logical.
This is why I'm telling Ekuntala to take example. You are the main person who is who has the courage to ask. And all of the questions, no matter how basic they may be, I'd be interested in answering it. Forget about anybody else. I'm interested in answering it. Okay.
Let me take a short time here. When I was when you were going to in title and you get to the minus in title, and something went through my mind, and I was going to say, okay, what's going to be the result for using in title? just as I was saying that, you came right back and say, if you use end title, the last, the word after it would not be indexed, or it's going to ignore that, just like minus in title policy. If you put
See,
minus title, policy will not be there.
yeah. See, the only difference is, remember how we used minus for the words, where we were using search phrases and the keywords.
Yes.
We said, let's just get rid of these words. We put the minus sign right next to the words. Very easy to do. The only difference between using a minus sign for a single word and using it with operators like in title is that with the words, it means those words wherever they occur in the description, in the title, or in the URL. Wherever those words are, they will be eliminated. They'll be like totally gone.
Exactly.
Okay. But when we use in title, it's going to be gone from the title portion only. That's all. Okay. Okay, Lauren. Thank you so much.
I understand.
Thank you. And you take care. I'll see you all tomorrow, same time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Good
Nice.
morning, all. Thank
Good
you very
night.
much. Bye-bye.
Have
Yeah, good
have
day.
a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.